in his perception, the perception that some are getting more unjustly than others, that some are pulling the short end of the stick, breeds resentment. And with resentment and high exposure and proximity, that too increases the chance of conflict. That exacerbates the consciousness of group differences. All of this leads to a death spiral. It's a diversity death spiral towards inevitable group conflict, inevitable and necessary total conflict between two groups. This is the necessary outcome. It's not an accident that a George Floyd and Derek Chauvin happens. It's not an accident. And if it wasn't between George Floyd's and Derek Chauvin's, it would be between blacks and Asians, or Hispanics and blacks, or whites and Asians, or whatever, between Jews and Christians, or Muslims and Christians. This is the natural consequence of diversity. That is why any wise society, any society that seeks the well-being of its people, has to accommodate for these things. It has to take that into consideration. It can't say, okay, everyone's an individual, we're just going to throw you out there, and some will succeed and some will fail, because this leads to disparities. Disparities lead to resentment. Resentment leads to conflict. So this has to be taken into consideration. And so what has to be done then is we have to think about, what we're doing here, that it's not just a matter of forcing it. It's not a matter of equalizing outcomes that can only be the result of racism or prejudice. We have to think about these things very soberly. We have to think about, how do we have a good quality of life for everybody? How do we prevent resentment? I think ultimately you either have a certain allocation of resources for both groups, which is equitable, or you separate the groups, and then there can be no resentment. And the groups are separate, then nobody could say, oh, well, I'm getting less, because they're not competing over the same resources. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is to say, okay, well, your group is going to get this much, quotas or something. I don't know. These are just a couple of ideas, but a society has to begin to think like that. A society has to begin to think about, how do we prevent racial conflict? We think about this when it comes to class. When you have different classes and the wealthy get more than the middle class, or the middle class get more than the working class, we think about, how do we increase mobility? How do we increase equity? In order so that we can maintain stability. Because if one class resents other classes, this creates instability, which is bad for all classes. So in the society then, people say, okay, well, let's equalize outcomes, let's enhance opportunities, whatever. That's how you do it. But anyway, point being, this multiracial stuff, it's a bad idea. This is what you get. Bring large groups, large tribes into one polity, into one society, and you will get conflict. And there's no avoiding that. And some people point to, oh, the media is causing the division. The media is inciting the division. Or, oh, the police caused this, or the criminals caused this. No. The number one factor in all of this is that you've got two large tribes living together in the same place. And that is just what you get. No conservative will say that, though. No conservative wants to talk about that, because they, too, believe in this diversity myth. They, too, believe that diversity is a strength. They believe it's a good thing. They buy the liberal consensus on race and on human nature, which is that, we're all pink on the inside, we're the human race, and so on. So, no conservative will ever figure out how to stop this stuff. But let's take a look. It's getting to be that time, 3:58 p.m. Let's check in and see where we are.
On what the defense was trying to do there in South Chicago, 38th in Minneapolis, 38th in Chicago and Minneapolis, a very diverse neighborhood, trying to communicate to the jurors, well, Derek Chauvin had a legitimate concern because, there were people from that neighborhood on the street. But the problem was, we heard from them. The jurors heard from them, and they saw the picture of them, and they heard what they were trying to do. They were trying to stop what they thought was an atrocity.
Okay, so
and I think one of the things that the defense had such a hard problem with is that I think every decent American, every patriotic American recognizes that we have had a problem in this country. We've had a problem with the use of force against...
Shut up. It's true that, I mean, look, what's funny is that cops do abuse their authority. Everyone knows that, and it's not even a race thing. Everybody knows it's really a cop thing. Cops are, not every single individual person who's a police officer is abusive or cruel, but I'm sure many people have had an encounter in their life where the police are heavy-handed. We all know that the police do that. And they'll do that if you're white, they'll do that if you're black, and it has to do with the kind of person that becomes a cop. Some people become a police officer because their dad was, or because they want to serve and protect, and some people become a cop because they want to carry a gun. They want to have a badge and a gun, and they want to tell people what to do, and they want to get in car chases, and they want to swing their, thing around. And we all know that. We all know that's not every cop, but there are a lot of people that, what kind of person wants to become a cop or a soldier? It's not all of them, but there is a certain tendency, there is an individual, and there is a certain disposition that would be attracted to that line of work. And so it's when you run into those people, then you're in trouble, whether you're black or you're white. And there was a case in Arizona where a guy was trying to surrender in a motel. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but he was on his knees, and the guy's got an assault rifle pointed at him. And, the guy tried to pull his pants up and fell on his face, and he lit him up, shot him like 100 times or whatever. And, that's an example of, that's a cop. That's a cop thing. That's that disposition of somebody that wants to be a cop so they could walk around with their big badge and their big gun, they're a big man, and they don't do that because you're black. They do that because they're a cop, So... I'm not in love with cops. I don't know who is. Who's saying to themselves, man, I love cops. I love dealing with cops. I love when cops give me a parking ticket. I love when cops pull me over because I go 11 miles per hour over the speed limit. I love when cops punch me. I love when cops, right? I mean, no. No, we all know how that goes. And it's a necessary part of the society, and some are better than others, but that's just that's just what you get with police. And black people tend to have a lot of bad experiences because they commit most of the crime. And in most of these traffic stops, they wind up resisting arrest or running because they're violating probation. They've got a warrant out for the arrest. They know they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. So, it's a little unique in their case. But the answer to BLM is not Blue Lives Matter. It definitely isn't. The answer is, white people are under attack. There's a white genocide going on. Black people are ethnically narcissistic. They're being put at the top of a social and racial caste system. So that's really what's going on. But it's 4:02 p.m. We were supposed to have a verdict. No verdict yet. I wonder what the likelihood is that we'll get riots either way. Because I feel like even if there's a not guilty verdict, I feel like we're still going to get riots. It's obviously a smaller chance if he's not guilty than if he's guilty. If he's guilty, there's going to be riots. If he's not guilty, there's still a high likelihood that you're going to get riots. So, and honestly, I kind of want the riots to happen, not because riots are good. Riots are very destructive and deadly, and it's not right. It's not fair for small business owners. But I think that the riots do catalyze a very good response from people that benefits us. Because when people see riots, they see who these people are. When your conservatives and your average Americans see these people rioting, they tend to very quickly understand what the real problem in the country is, like what's really going on here. So, all you could say is you want you and yours to be safe during a riot. Riots are not good, but there is maybe an indirect political benefit, because every time a riot happens, it creates 1,000 racists. Not that that's a good thing, but it creates 1,000 people that are more aware of the sort of racial dynamic in the country. Maybe that's a better way to say it. So, Let's see though, but let's take a look. Let's listen in. Do we have a verdict
yet?
It should have come out now. It should have come out
which way the
4
jury
minutes
decides
ago.
Here in just a short time from now. But you have to wonder the impact of playing that video in the courtroom, not just for the family of George Floyd. It must have been excruciating to go through this all over again. But in those closing arguments, the decision by the prosecution, they went much shorter with the video than they did in the opening statement. On the flip side, the defense used quite a bit of the video with George Floyd on the ground, and I'll be curious to see what jurors decide from watching that video. In many ways, it was more difficult the second time around. And Judge Cahill now in the courtroom.
Here we go. Here we go.
Entire team standing by.
Here we go. Let's go. Let's go. All right, here it is. Here it is. The moment you've all been waiting for. There he is, the man of the hour. We don't even care about you. We don't even care about you. Drum roll, please. Let's go.
All right, please be seated. Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict.
Here we go. Here we go. I wonder what it will be.
Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District.
Here we go.
State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19.
Wow.
Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m.
2 out of 3.
Jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty.
Guilty! Wow!
2021.
Wow! 3 for 3.
Jury foreperson 019.
Wow!
Jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
There it is.
9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number
3
19,
for 3.
Are these your true and correct verdicts?
Guilty, guilty,
Juror number 27, are
guilty.
these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number
That's
44,
bullshit.
are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Well, there it is. I don't know if there's much
Juror
else to
number
watch
85,
here.
are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
What a bunch of bullshit, though. That is such nonsense. The guy's obviously not guilty. Look at the medical record. It's so rigged, dude. The justice system's totally rigged. You just gotta never wind up in this situation, because you're fucked if you are.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be
Wow.
filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions
It's over.
and to advise you further. So, all rise for the jury.
Wow.
All right, be seated. With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that.
It's a huge deal.
We'll order a PSI immediately, returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates in a scheduling order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, the state would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further?
All right.
Thank you.
So there you have it.
Well, there it is. There it is. You know, honestly, I don't feel like I have. Well, here, let me. Oh, the volume's off. Okay. Honestly, I don't feel like I'm extremely invested in Derek Chauvin in himself, per se. So, you know, either way, it's like, oh, cops lose or BLM loses. Yeah, I mean, whatever. No love lost there. Oh, a cop got convicted. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo, you know. So I don't really even feel so bad about it for that reason. But he was obviously innocent. And it just goes to show the justice system is rigged. Like, you know, people think that if you go in front of a judge, if you go in a courtroom, you're going to get a fair shake. That's not true. It's not true anymore. Maybe it was never true, but it definitely isn't. Excuse me, it definitely isn't true now. So, you know, I see him get convicted. And it's not really personally about Chauvin. Like I said, I don't feel very strongly one way or the other. I do think he was innocent, and it does prove that the justice system's totally fixed. And you know that it was rigged, probably more than anything, by the social pressure. More than anything, it was rigged by the fact that the jurors know that if they made the wrong decision, that they're responsible for nationwide riots, and that probably they would get hunted down. You know, that their identities would be revealed, and that their whole life would be destroyed. So, you know, more than it being political, more than it being a form of bias, it was really a show trial, because everybody knows that if they made the wrong decision, the jurors would be destroyed and the country would go up in flames. So I think that's why they made the wrong decision. So I don't care so much that Chauvin's guilty. It's totally a miscarriage of justice, and it sucks. And it definitely sucks for Derek Chauvin. I mean, I don't feel, I do feel sympathetic towards him. But more than anything, it shows that the whole system's totally rigged. I'm a little bit disappointed too, because because you see this. Look at these idiots, man. Look at these goofies. I'm more mad that all these libtards are celebrating, all these assholes are cheering, more than anything. Look at this, yeah. Yeah, congratulations. You fucking ruined this country. Congratulations. Place is a dump.
That there are slightly different theories with regard to second-degree murder and third-degree murder. I mean, there was a possibility that he could be found guilty of second-degree murder, not of third-degree murder, and then guilty of second-degree manslaughter. That didn't happen. This was a prosecution clean sweep here, and now Derek Chauvin will be sentenced on the highest charge, which is second-degree murder, faces up to 40 years. The sentencing guidelines in Michigan suggest more likely 10 to 15 years. But I'll tell you, David, you mentioned that 9-year-old girl, and she could be relevant in the context of sentencing, because prosecutors can ask for what's called an enhancement in the sentencing, meaning to go beyond what the guidelines would suggest because a child was present.
Yeah.
And so that 9-year-old girl was not just an emotional witness, but she could become...
Well, but it's not over yet, because they will appeal, and we'll see what comes of the appeal. But as for now, guilty, guilty, guilty. Guilty on 3 counts. Second-degree, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Those are the 3 charges. Guilty. He can't appeal. I presume he will appeal. And, so it's not really over yet, but it's obviously a big victory for BLM. Look at these, man. Look at these fucking people. Really? Look at this fat pig. Both of them, fat, disgusting pig. This one and that one, too. And, you know, what's really important to keep in mind as well is it's Derek Chauvin today, it's you tomorrow. Look at these people in the streets and know that your dispossession, your death, show trial against you, they'll be cheering for the same thing. That fat, ugly face, keep that in mind. That's the rest of our lives for the next century. That fat, ugly face cheering and screaming and fist pumping while it's you and your family and people that you love next. That's the real takeaway from all of this. So I don't feel extremely sympathetic to Derek Chauvin personally. I'm a little sympathetic. And of course it has implications about how the justice system is rigged, but take a look. Take a look at this brother with his phone, you know, on the frizzy hair, cheering over your dispossession next. And it's already happening. So, you know, more of this. More of this. White people, obviously, are not going to be rioting tonight. Although, I don't know, maybe they should be. No, they shouldn't be. No, I'm not going to say that. And I think these people be rioting anyway. We'll see, though. But that's the verdict. I'm going to get out of here. I'm probably going to go and eat something. And, of course, I'll be doing my show. I'll be back here on AmericaFirst.live at 8 o'clock Central Time. So in about 3 hours and 45 minutes. With a full take, with my full show on this. I'll be back later tonight talking more about it. But that's all I got for now. That's the verdict. Guilty on 3 charges. If you're just joining us, guilty on second-degree manslaughter, guilty on second- and third-degree murder. So there you have it. They'll probably appeal. We'll watch. We'll wait and see about that. But that's where it stands now. So stay tuned. I guess the real update will come tonight. Will there be riots or not? I don't know. I think the mob got what they wanted, so maybe we'll be spared. Maybe we'll be spared tonight because the mob got what they demanded. But that's going to be the stream for now. It sucks, but it is what it is. So that's going to do it for me on the stream. Like I said, I'll catch you back here at 8 o'clock Central Time. So I'll see you later tonight. Thanks for watching. See you on America First.